Part 1. The Shadow over Earth. The stars had always been silent. For thousands of years, humanity looked up at the night sky and wondered if they were alone. They sent signals into the darkness. They built telescopes and satellites. They searched and searched, hoping to find friends among the stars. What they found instead were monsters. In the year 2089, a small research station on the edge of the solar system picked up a strange signal. It was not random noise. It was not natural. It was a message, and when the scientists decoded it, their blood turned cold. The message was simple. It was a record of conquest. It listed hundreds of worlds that had been invaded, stripped of resources, and left as dead rocks floating in space. The species that sent these messages called themselves the Dominion, and they were coming closer to Earth with each passing year. The governments of Earth did something they had never done before. They united. They stopped fighting each other. They stopped arguing about borders and money and politics. For the first time in human history, every nation worked together for one single purpose: survival. And then they went silent. Earth stopped sending signals into space. They hid themselves. They built in secret. They prepared for the day when they would finally find them. For over 200 years, humanity worked in the shadows. They developed technologies that would have seemed like magic to their ancestors. They built weapons that could crack planets. They created defenses that could stop entire fleets. And they placed these weapons carefully throughout the solar system, hidden in asteroids, buried on moons, floating in the darkness between planets. The greatest of these weapons was called Project Horizon. It was so secret that only a handful of people knew it existed. It was so powerful that even its creators were afraid of it, and it waited, silent and patient, for the day it would be needed. That day came in the year 2347. Admiral Park stood in the command center deep beneath Mount in Korea. The room was filled with screens and computers, all showing the same terrible image. 12,000 red dots were moving through space, heading straight for Earth. Each dot was a warship. Each warship carried enough weapons to destroy a city. Together, they could burn the entire planet to ash. Was 63 years old. He had gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent his entire life preparing for this moment, and now that it was here, he felt strangely calm. He had known this day would come. Every human who worked in Earth's defense had known. They had been waiting for generations. "How long until they reach us?" asked. Captain Minyu Lee checked his screens. He was a young man with sharp eyes and quick hands. He had trained for years to be the best tactical officer in the fleet, but he had never seen actual combat. No human had. That would be their first real enemy. 6 months, Admiral, Minyu said. They are moving slowly. They do not seem to be in a hurry. They think we are weak, said quietly. They think we cannot fight back. Lieutenant looked up from her communication station. She was responsible for monitoring all signals coming from space. Sir, we have intercepted their internal messages. They are calling us a primitive species. They believe we are still using simple rockets and nuclear weapons. Almost smiled. Almost. Their information is 300 years old. They sent a probe to study us back then. They have no idea what we have become. The door to the command center opened, and Doctor walked in. She was a small woman with glasses and messy hair. She looked like a librarian, not a scientist who had helped build the most dangerous weapon in human history. But appearances could be deceiving. Had one of the greatest minds on Earth, and she had dedicated her entire life to Project Horizon. Admiral, she said, her voice calm but serious, I have finished the final checks. Project Horizon is fully operational. All systems are ready. Has it ever been tested at full power? Asked. Paused. No, we have run simulations. We have tested individual parts, but we have never activated the entire system at once. It would be too dangerous to test on our own solar system. So we do not know for certain that it will work. The math says it will work, said. The physics says it will work, but you are right. We will not know for certain until we use it. nodded slowly. He understood. They were betting the survival of their entire species on something that had never been tested. But what choice did they have? The fleet was coming, and conventional weapons would not stop them. General entered the room next. He was an old soldier with scars on his face and hands. He had fought in the last war between human nations, back before the unification. Now he commanded all of Earth's ground forces, though he hoped he would never need to use them. "The World Defense Council is assembled," said. "They are waiting for your report, Admiral." Took a deep breath, then let us not keep them waiting. The council chamber was a massive room filled with representatives from every nation on Earth. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, and scientists all sat together, their faces pale with fear. They had all seen the images of the fleet. They all knew what was coming. Stood before them and spoke clearly. "The Dominion has sent 12,000 warships to our solar system. Based on their past behavior, we know their intentions. They will demand our surrender. When we refuse, they will attempt to destroy us and take our planet's resources." A murmur of fear passed through the room. "However," continued, "we are not the primitive species they believe us to be. For 200 years we have prepared for this moment. We have weapons they cannot imagine. We have defenses they cannot break. If it comes to war, we can win." One of the council members raised her hand. "Admiral, what do you recommend?" "I recommend that we try diplomacy first," said. "We should give them a chance to leave peacefully. Perhaps they can be reasoned with. Perhaps they are not as savage as their history suggests." Snorted, "They have destroyed 200 worlds. I do not think they are interested in peace." "Perhaps not," agreed. "But we must try. We must show the universe that we gave them every opportunity to turn back. If they refuse, and if we are forced to destroy them, no one can say we did not warn them." The council voted. It was unanimous. They would send a message of peace to the fleet. They would offer friendship and trade. They would beg them, if necessary, to leave Earth alone. But while they talked of peace, they would prepare for war. That night stood alone on a balcony looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, 12,000 ships were coming to kill everyone he loved. His wife, his children, his 8 billion human beings, all marked for death by creatures who saw them as nothing more than insects. He thought about Project Horizon. He thought about what it could do, and he made a silent promise to himself. If the wanted war, they would get war, but they would not like how it ended. Not at all. Part 2, First Contact. The fleet crossed the orbit of Neptune on a cold morning in March. 12,000 warships moved through the darkness like a swarm of metal insects. They were beautiful in a terrible way. Their hulls were black and smooth, shaped like the teeth of some giant beast. They had conquered 200 worlds with ships like these. They had never lost a single battle. On the bridge of the flagship, High Commander sat on his throne and watched the tiny blue dot in the distance. Earth, a small planet orbiting a small star in an unremarkable corner of the galaxy. According to his records, the creatures living there were primitive and weak. They had barely figured out how to leave their own planet. They would be easy prey. Was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms. His eyes were completely black, like pools of oil. He had commanded the military for over 50 years, and he had never known defeat. The very idea of losing was strange to him. It was something that happened to other species, not to the High Commander, said his second in command. "We are detecting a transmission from the third planet. They wish to communicate." Made a sound that was something like a laugh. "They know we are here. Interesting. I thought they were blind as well as stupid. Should we respond?" Considered this. Normally, he would simply attack without warning. There was no need to talk to prey before hunting it, but he was curious. He wanted to see what these humans would say. He wanted to enjoy their fear before he destroyed them. "Open a channel," he ordered. "Let us hear what the insects have to say." On Earth, Lieutenant took a deep breath and pressed the transmit button. Her hands were steady, but her heart was beating fast. She was about to be the first human to ever speak to an alien species. Everything depended on what happened next. "Attention, fleet," she said, her voice calm and clear. "This is Lieutenant of the United Earth Defense Force. We come in peace. We wish to establish friendly relations with your people. We invite you to send a representative to discuss terms for peaceful coexistence. We have much to offer each other. Please respond." The message traveled through space at the speed of light. Minutes passed. Everyone in the command center held their breath. Then the response came. His face appeared on every screen on Earth. He was smiling, showing rows of sharp teeth. His black eyes seemed to look directly at every human who watched. "Creatures of Earth," he said, "I am High Commander of the Dominion. Your message amuses me. Peaceful coexistence. You speak as if you have something to bargain with. You do not." He leaned forward on his throne. "Here are your choices. You will surrender your planet to us within 72 hours. All of your resources will become property of the Dominion. Your people will be relocated to work camps where they will serve us. If you cooperate, some of you will be allowed to live. If you resist, we will burn your world to glass and take what we want from the ashes. There will be no negotiation. There will be no discussion. You have 72 hours. Use them wisely." The transmission ended. In the command center, no one spoke for a long moment. Hands were shaking now. She had hoped, foolishly perhaps, that they might be different from what their history suggested. She had hoped they might be willing to talk. Admiral broke the silence. "Send another message. Tell them we wish to understand their terms better. Ask them what they would accept in exchange for leaving us alone." "Sir," Minu said quietly, "you heard him. He said there would be no negotiation." "I know what he said. Send the message anyway." Sent the message. The response came quickly this time, appeared again, and he was laughing, actually laughing. "You wish to negotiate," he said. "How delightful. Very well, I will explain this simply so your primitive minds can understand. We do not trade. We do not bargain. We take. That is the way of the Dominion. That is the way of the strong. You are weak. You have nothing we want except your planet, and we will have it whether you give it to us or not." He waved one of his 4 hands dismissively. "But please, continue sending your amusing messages. My officers enjoy the entertainment. We have a long journey ahead of us, and watching you beg for mercy helps pass the time." The transmission ended again. On its bridge, his officers were indeed laughing. They thought the humans were pathetic. Some of them made jokes about how the creatures would probably start fighting each other when they realized there was no hope. That was what usually happened with primitive species. They fell apart when faced with true power. But one was not laughing. Oracle Kiva stood in the shadows, watching the human transmissions with growing unease. She was smaller than the others, with pale gray skin and eyes that seemed to see more than what was directly in front of her. She was an advisor to the High Commander, chosen for her ability to read patterns and predict the behavior of other species. And something about the humans bothered her. "High Commander," she said softly, "may I speak?" Waved a hand. "What is it, Oracle?" "The humans, their behavior is unusual." "Unusual how?" "They are begging for their lives like all weak creatures do." "No," Kiva said. "That is not what they are doing. They are calm, too calm. A species facing extinction should be panicking. They should be screaming, crying, fighting among themselves, but look at them." She pointed to the recordings of the human transmissions. "Their voices are steady. Their eyes are clear. They speak to us as if they are equals, as if they are not afraid." Snorted. "They are too stupid to understand what is happening. Give them time. They will panic soon enough." "Perhaps," Kiva said, "or perhaps they know something we do not." Turned to look at her fully. What could they possibly know? They are insects. Their technology is 300 years behind ours. They have no fleet, no weapons capable of threatening us. What could they possibly be hiding? Kiva did not answer immediately. She had no evidence, no proof of anything wrong. just a feeling in her gut, a whisper in her mind that something was not right. "I do not know," she admitted, "but I advise caution. We should study them more before we attack. We should learn why they are not afraid." Laughed, "Caution. Against primitives. Oracle, I have destroyed 200 worlds. I have shattered fleets that were far more advanced than anything these creatures could build. And you want me to be cautious because they are calm." He stood up from his throne and walked toward her. "This is why you are an advisor and I am the commander. You see danger in shadows. I see only weakness and opportunity. These humans are nothing. Their calmness is not strength. It is ignorance. They simply do not understand how helpless they are." He turned back to his officers. "Increase our speed. We will arrive at Earth in 6 hours instead of 72. Let us show these creatures what happens when they waste my time with foolish requests for peace." The fleet accelerated, moving faster through the darkness. On Earth, Captain Menu detected the change immediately. "Admiral, the fleet is speeding up. They will reach weapons range in 6 hours. Nodded. He had expected something like this. "Begin evacuation of surface populations to the underground shelters. All military personnel to battle stations." General appeared on the screen. "Admiral, my forces are ready. If they land troops, we will fight them in the streets, in the mountains, in every building and cave. They will pay for every inch of our planet in blood." "I hope it will not come to that," said. "But thank you, General. Your courage honors us all." He turned to look at the image of the fleet on the main screen. 12,000 ships, each one bringing death to his world. And behind them, a commander who thought humans were insects. Thought about Project Horizon. He thought about what he would have to do if diplomacy failed. And he began to prepare himself for the burden that was coming. Part 3, the final warning. 24 hours remained until the fleet would reach Earth. In the underground command center, the mood was heavy. Everyone knew what was coming. Everyone understood that the next day would decide the fate of humanity. Admiral stood before the main communication screen. Behind him, his entire command staff watched in silence. Lieutenant sat at her station, ready to transmit. Captain Menu monitored the approaching fleet. Doctor had come down from her lunar laboratory, wanting to be present for this moment. General stood with his arms crossed, his face showing no emotion. This would be humanity's last attempt at peace. Had spent hours preparing what he would say. He had written and rewritten the message dozens of times. He had consulted with psychologists, linguists, and diplomats. He had tried to find the perfect words that might convince them to turn back. But in the end, he had thrown away all the complicated speeches. He had decided to speak simply from his heart. "Are we ready?" he asked. Nodded. "All frequencies open, sir. The entire fleet will receive this transmission." Straightened his uniform and faced the camera. "Begin recording." A small red light appeared, indicating the camera was active. Looked directly into it, imagining the alien commander who would watch this message. He took a deep breath and began to speak. "High Commander, officers and crew of the fleet. My name is Admiral Park of the United Earth Defense Force. I speak on behalf of all humanity." He paused, letting his words settle. "We received your ultimatum. We understand your intentions. You believe we are weak. You believe we are primitive. You believe you can destroy us without effort, as you have destroyed so many worlds before. I am here to tell you that you are wrong." In the command center, no one moved. Everyone understood the weight of these words. "For over 200 years we have known about your dominion. We have watched you from afar. We have studied your conquests, your methods, your technology, and we have prepared. We are not the ignorant species you think we are. We have weapons you cannot imagine. We have defenses you cannot break. If you attack us, you will not win." His voice remained calm, but there was steel beneath the words. "But we do not want war. We do not want to kill. Despite everything we know about your history, we still hope that peace is possible. We still believe that you can choose a different path." He leaned slightly forward, making the message more personal. "I am asking you, commander to commander, to consider what you are doing. You are about to bring 12,000 ships against a world that has offered you friendship. You are about to murder 8 billion people who have done nothing to harm you. Is this truly who you want to be? Is this the legacy you want to leave?" The room was completely silent. Even the machines seemed to be holding their breath. "Here is my final offer. Turn your fleet around. Leave our solar system. Go back to your own space and we will not pursue you. There will be no revenge, no retaliation. We will simply let you go. In return, we ask only that you leave us in peace. Forever." His eyes hardened. "But if you refuse, if you continue your approach, if you fire a single weapon at our planet or our people, we will destroy your fleet, completely, utterly. There will be no survivors. There will be no retreat. 12,000 ships will cease to exist in an instant." He let those words hang in the air. This is not a threat. This is not a bluff. This is a warning given in good faith because we do not want to do what we are prepared to do. We take no pleasure in destruction. We are not conquerors like you, but we will defend our home. His voice softened slightly. "The choice is yours, High Commander. Peace or death, turn back or be destroyed. I pray that you make the right decision, for your sake and for the sake of your people." He stood straight and tall. "This is our final warning. There will not be another." The red light went off. The transmission was complete. His hands were trembling as she sent the message into space. Doctor wiped a tear from her eye. Even General seemed moved, though he would never admit it. "Now we wait," said quietly. The message traveled through the void at the speed of light. It reached the flagship in minutes. High Commander watched it with his officers gathered around him. When it ended, there was a long silence. Then began to laugh. It started as a small chuckle, then grew into a roaring howl of amusement. He laughed so hard that tears formed in his black eyes. He laughed until he could barely breathe. His officers joined in. The entire bridge erupted in mockery. They replayed the part where warned them about destruction, and they laughed even harder. Some of them were holding their sides, struggling to stand. "Did you hear that?" gasped between laughs. "They will destroy our fleet, 12,000 ships. In an instant." He wiped his eyes. "These creatures are even more entertaining than I thought." Was laughing too, but he managed to speak. "Should we even respond, High Commander, or should we let our weapons do the talking?" "Oh, I think we should respond," said, still chuckling. "I want to see the look on their faces when they realize how foolish they are." He composed himself and faced the camera. "Record my response." The camera activated, and his face changed from amusement to cold contempt. "Admiral Park, thank you for the entertainment. My crew needed a good laugh before battle. Your threats are amusing, but they are empty. You have no weapons that can harm us. You have no fleet that can stop us. You have nothing but words and desperation." He leaned forward, his black eyes gleaming. "I have destroyed species far more powerful than you. I have shattered fleets with millions of ships. Your single planet with its primitive technology is nothing to me, less than nothing. I will enjoy watching you burn." His smile returned, cold and cruel. "Your final warning has been received. Here is my response. We are coming. And when we arrive, your world will die. Every man, woman, and child. Every building, every city, every memory of your pitiful species. We will leave nothing behind but ash and silence." He stood up from his throne. "Prepare your weapons, human. Prepare your defenses. Prepare whatever you think will save you. It will not matter. In 6 hours, your species will be extinct. This is my promise to you." The transmission ended. In the corner of the bridge, Oracle Kiva watched in silence. She had not laughed with the others. She had noticed something in the human admiral's eyes, something that did not match his situation. He was not afraid. A species facing extinction should be terrified. Their leader should be desperate, panicked, barely holding himself together. But Admiral Park had been calm, more than calm. He had seemed almost sad, as if he regretted what was about to happen. Not what would happen to his people, what would happen to the... Kiva approached the High Commander carefully. "My lord, may I speak privately?" Waved dismissively. "Say what you want to say, Oracle. We have no secrets here." "Very well." Kiva took a deep breath. "I advise that we take the human warning seriously." The laughter on the bridge stopped. Everyone turned to look at her. "Excuse me." His voice was cold. "The human admiral was not bluffing," Kiva said. "I have studied his body language, his voice patterns, his choice of words. He believes completely in what he said. He believes they can destroy us." "Then he is insane," said. "Delusion is not uncommon in species facing death." "Perhaps," Kiva admitted. "But what if he is not insane? What if they truly have developed weapons we do not know about? Our intelligence on this planet is 300 years old. Much can change in that time." Stepped toward her, and his presence was terrifying. "Are you suggesting that I, High Commander of the Dominion, turn and run from a species that has not even colonized its own moon? Are you suggesting that we abandon this conquest because one human looked confident?" Kiva met his gaze without flinching. "I am suggesting that we proceed with caution. Perhaps send a smaller force first. Test their defenses before committing the entire fleet." "Caution," spoke the word like it was poison. "Caution is for the weak. Caution is for those who fear death. I fear nothing, Oracle, least of all a planet of insects." He turned back to his officers. "Maintain course and speed. We attack in 6 hours, and Oracle Kiva will watch from the front lines so she can see how wrong she is." Kiva bowed her head and said nothing more. She had tried. There was nothing else she could do. On Earth, the response from arrived. Admiral watched it in silence. When it ended, he closed his eyes for a long moment. "They refused," said, her voice breaking. "They are still coming." "Yes," said softly. "I knew they would." He turned to Doctor. "Initiate Project Horizon, full activation." Nodded. "Understood, Admiral. I will begin the sequence immediately." As she left for the lunar facility, looked at the image of the fleet on his screen. 12,000 ships, millions of lives. They would all be dead soon. He had given them every chance. They had laughed at him. And now they would learn what humanity could do when it had no other choice. Part 4. The Weapon They Never Saw. Doctor stood in the control room of the lunar facility, surrounded by screens and machines that hummed with power. The room was buried deep beneath the surface of the moon, hidden from any scanner or probe. It had been built in secret over 200 years ago, and only a handful of people in each generation knew it existed. This was the heart of Project Horizon. Had spent her entire life working on this weapon. She had been recruited at the age of 18, fresh out of university, when older scientists saw her potential. They had shown her the plans, explained the theory, and asked if she was willing to dedicate herself to something she hoped would never be used. She had said yes. Now, 40 years later, she was about to activate the most powerful weapon humanity had ever created, and she felt sick to her stomach. Her assistant, a young man named, approached her carefully. "Doctor, all systems are online. We are ready for your authorization." Nodded but did not speak immediately. She was staring at the main screen, which showed the fleet as a cluster of red dots moving toward Earth. Each dot represented a ship. Each ship carried thousands of crew members, millions of living beings who had families and friends and dreams. And she was about to kill them all. Doctor said gently, "Are you all right?" "No," said honestly. "I am not all right. I am about to commit mass murder on a scale that has never been seen in human history. How could I possibly be all right?" Was quiet for a moment. "They would murder 8 billion of us if we let them." "I know," took off her glasses and rubbed her eyes. That is the only reason I can do this. Not because I want to, not because it is right, but because there is no other choice. She put her glasses back on and straightened her shoulders. Begin the explanation sequence. I want the Admiral to understand exactly what we are about to do. In the command center beneath Mount, a secure channel opened between the lunar facility and Earth. Admiral watched as Doctor appeared on his screen. Admiral, she said, before I activate the weapon, I believe you should understand how it works. This is your decision, and you should make it with full knowledge. Nodded, explain. Took a deep breath. Project Horizon is not a weapon in the traditional sense. We do not fire missiles or lasers or bombs. Instead, we manipulate the very fabric of reality itself. She activated a visual display that showed a diagram. Everything in the universe is made of atoms. Atoms are held together by forces that exist at the quantum level, in dimensions we cannot see or touch. Project Horizon creates a controlled disruption in those forces. When activated, it targets specific quantum signatures and destabilizes them. She paused, making sure understood. In simple terms, we do not destroy the ships, we unmake them. Every atom in every ship is simultaneously scattered across 11 dimensions of spacetime. There is no explosion, no debris, no wreckage. The ships simply cease to exist, as if they were never there. Felt a chill run down his spine, and there is no defense against this. None that we know of, said. The attack happens at the quantum level, faster than light, faster than thought. They will not see it coming. They will not feel pain. One moment they will exist, and the next moment they will not. Captain Minu spoke up from his station. What about our own ships? Could this weapon be used against us? The weapon requires a specific quantum signature to target, explained. We have programmed it to recognize technology. It will not affect human vessels or installations. However, if this technology ever fell into enemy hands and was modified. She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. Turned to General, what do you think? The old soldier was quiet for a long moment. I think we have no choice. If we do not use this weapon, 8 billion people will die. Our children, everyone we have ever loved. Against that, what is the weight of an enemy fleet? The weight is still heavy, said. We will be killing millions of beings who have never personally harmed us. Many of them are probably just following orders. Some might even disagree with what their leaders are doing. That is war, said quietly. That has always been war. Good people die because of the decisions made by bad leaders. It is not fair, it is not just, but it is reality. Lieutenant spoke softly. Admiral, we gave them every chance to turn back. We begged them to leave us alone. They laughed at us. They promised to murder every human being on our planet. Children, bobbies, everyone. Her voice hardened. I do not want to kill anyone, but I will not let them kill us, not when we have the power to stop them. Looked at each of his officers in turn. He saw fear in their eyes, but also determination. They understood what had to be done. They were ready to carry this burden with him. He turned back to the screen where waited. How do we activate the weapon? The system is fully automated, said. All targets have been identified and locked. I simply need to press a single button, and the sequence will begin. The entire process takes approximately 3 seconds to complete. 3 seconds to kill 12,000 ships. Yes. Closed his eyes. He thought about his wife, who was waiting in one of the underground shelters. He thought about his daughter and her children. He thought about the billions of humans who were depending on him to save them. Then he thought about the ordinary soldiers who would die without ever knowing why. The families who would wait forever for ships that would never return. The children who would grow up without parents because of his decision. He opened his eyes. Is there any other way? He asked one final time. Any weapon that could disable their fleet without killing them. Any technology that could force them to retreat. No, said gently. I wish there was. I have spent years searching for an alternative, but there is nothing. Project Horizon is our only option. The fleet was now 2 hours away from Earth. In 2 hours, they would be in weapons range. In 2 hours, they would begin destroying cities, burning continents, killing billions. Unless stop them. He stood up from his chair and walked to the center of the command room. Every eye was on him. Every heart was beating with fear and hope. I accepted this command knowing that this day might come, he said slowly. I trained for it. I prepared for it. I told myself I would be ready. But now that it is here, I realize that no one can ever truly be ready to do what we are about to do. He looked at his officers, his friends, his family. We are going to kill millions of beings in the next few minutes. There is no way to make that acceptable. There is no way to make that right. All we can do is acknowledge the weight of it and carry it together. He straightened his back. But I will not apologize for protecting our people. I will not feel shame for saving our children that came here to murder us. They rejected every offer of peace. They laughed at our warnings. They gave us no choice. His voice grew stronger. And so we will do what we must, not with joy, not with pride, but with the grim determination of a species that refuses to die. He turned to the screen. Doctor, on my authority as Admiral of the United Earth Defense Force, I order you to activate Project Horizon. Nodded, her face was pale but her hands were steady. Understood, Admiral, activating now. She reached for the button that would end millions of lives and save billions more. And she pressed it. Part 5, Erasure. On the bridge of his flagship, High Commander was enjoying himself. Earth was growing larger on his, a beautiful blue marble hanging in the blackness of space. Soon it would be burning. Soon it would be his. 2 hours until weapons range, reported. All ships report ready for combat. Smiled, showing his sharp teeth. Combat, is that what we are calling it? This will not be combat, this will be extermination. These humans cannot even fight back. His officers laughed. They had done this many times before on many worlds. The pattern was always the same. The primitives would fire their pathetic weapons. The weapons would bounce harmlessly off shields. Then the bombardment would begin, and another species would be erased from the universe. In the corner of the bridge, Oracle Kiva stood silently. She was not laughing. She was watching her instruments, which were showing readings she did not understand. Something strange was happening in the space around them. Tiny fluctuations in the quantum field, barely detectable, flickering like distant lightning. She was about to say something when started speaking again. I have been thinking about how to destroy this planet, he said casually, as if discussing the weather. Should we burn the surface first and let them suffer? Or should we shatter the crust and let the magma do our work for us? Decisions, decisions. Chuckled, we could always do both. Burn half the planet, then crack the other half open. I like the way you think, said. Perhaps we will. He never finished the sentence. Kiva's instruments suddenly went insane. Every screen, every sensor, every piece of equipment on her station lit up with warnings. The quantum fluctuations she had barely noticed a moment ago were now spiking off every scale she had. High Commander, she said urgently, something is. She did not finish either. In that instant, something impossible happened. The weapon did not look like a weapon. There was no beam of light, no wave of energy, no visible sign of anything at all. Project Horizon worked in dimensions that existed beyond human sight, beyond the sight of any being in the universe. What happened was simpler and more terrible than any weapon that had come before. Every atom in every ship was suddenly, simultaneously, pulled apart at the quantum level. The forces that held matter together were disrupted across all 12,000 vessels at exactly the same moment. There was no time to react, no time to scream, no time to understand. One moment the fleet existed. 12,000 ships, millions of crew members, the greatest military force in the quadrant. The next moment, there was nothing. Not wreckage, not debris, not even dust. Nothing. The atoms that had once formed the ships and their crews were scattered across 11 dimensions of spacetime, spread so thin across the universe that they would never come together again. It was not destruction. It was erasure, as if the fleet had never existed at all. The whole process took exactly 2.7 seconds. In the command center beneath Mount, Captain Menu stared at his tactical display. His mouth was open, but no words came out. A moment ago, the screen had shown 12,000 enemy contacts. Now it showed empty space. He tried to speak but could not find words. They are gone. Lieutenant looked at her own screens, unable to believe what she was seeing. All of them, all 12,000 ships. All of them, Menu confirmed, his voice barely a whisper. There is nothing left, no debris, no life pods, no signals, just nothing. The command center was completely silent. Everyone was staring at the screens, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. They had known, intellectually, what Project Horizon could do. Doctor had explained it carefully, but seeing it, actually seeing an entire fleet vanish in seconds, was something else entirely. Admiral sat in his chair, his face pale. His hands were gripping the armrests so hard that his knuckles were white. He had given the order. He had made this happen. Millions of lives ended in less than 3 seconds because of one word from his mouth. No one cheered. No one celebrated. There was no joy in this victory. General was the first to move. He walked slowly to his side and placed a hand on his shoulder. The old soldier's face showed a mix of relief and sorrow. "You saved us," said quietly. "Every human being on this planet is alive because of you. And every on those ships is dead because of me," replied. "Yes, both things are true. That is the nature of command. That is the burden we carry." On the moon, Doctor removed her glasses and set them on her console. Her hands were shaking now, though they had been steady when she pressed the button. The data showed that the weapon had worked perfectly. Every target eliminated. No collateral damage. A flawless execution of 200 years of research and preparation. She felt like she was going to throw up. Her assistant approached her carefully. "Doctor, are you okay?" "No," she said again, just as she had before. "I just killed more beings than any human in history. I am not okay. I will probably never be okay again." She looked at the empty space on her screens where the fleet had been. But it had to be done. That is what I keep telling myself. It had to be done. Did not know what to say, so he said nothing. Sometimes there were no words that could make things better. Back on Earth, Lieutenant began to cry. The tears came quietly at first, then harder until her whole body was shaking with sobs. She was not crying because they had won. She was crying because of what they had lost. Their innocence. Their belief that the universe could be faced without violence, the hope that humanity could be different from the species that had threatened them. Captain Minu noticed her tears and walked over. He put his arm around her shoulders, not speaking, just being there. After a moment, she leaned against him and let herself fall apart. Around the room, other officers were dealing with the aftermath in their own ways. Some sat in stunned silence. Some hugged each other. Some prayed to gods they were not sure existed. Admiral finally stood up from his chair. His legs felt weak, but he forced himself to walk to the center of the room. "Listen to me," he said, his voice rough. "What we did today was necessary. It was terrible, but it was necessary. We did not start this fight. We did not ask for this war. We gave them every chance to turn back, and they refused. They came here to murder our children, and we stopped them." He looked at each of his officers in turn. "I will not ask you to celebrate. I will not ask you to feel joy. What I will ask is that you remember this moment. Remember what it cost us to defend ourselves. Remember the weight of what we have done. Because this is the price of survival in a universe that does not care about justice or fairness. His voice softened. Grieve for the lives we took. That grief is what separates us from the. They would have destroyed us without a moment of regret. We destroyed them and will carry the sorrow forever. That sorrow is not weakness. It is proof that we are still human. He took a deep breath. Now contact the underground shelters. Tell the people of Earth that they are safe. Tell them the enemy has been defeated. Tell them they can go home to their families. He paused and his voice cracked slightly. Tell them we won. The message went out across the planet. In shelters around the world, billions of people heard the news. They were gone. The threat was over. Earth was safe. And in that moment, humanity understood something it had never fully grasped before. They were not weak. They were not primitive. They were not insects to be crushed by anyone who came along. They were survivors. They were fighters. They were the species that had looked extinction in the face and refused to blink. The universe would never underestimate them again.